So we're continuing reading the Udanavarga straight from Tibetan and translating them and explaining what I can best in order to acquaint our mind that some of those very teachings that we hear quoted in many writings of great many practitioners are none other than the words of the Buddha themselves. So therefore it was good to go in a root text like this. We have done the first 14 chapters so far, I think. The last chapter we finished was on what was it?
Enmity.
Yeah, enmity. Yeah. So we finished that. Now this chapter is a very 15th chapter is the chapter on mindfulness. So you may really like to see what the Buddha had. Some of the very important things these days, the mindfulness about. Buddha had here in this case there's 28 verses dedicated for this chapter. So let's go over these. You can see how many of them are, why some of the techniques that are discussed in this are fundamental techniques of meditation in calm abiding or otherwise. Others are fundamental teachings. Of course, meditation is to focus, pay attention to the teachings, remember the teachings. Some are just techniques, others are themselves teachings. For instance, as the first verse says, Sangye kine tenpa hin, just as was taught by the Buddha. Kanki up yung up tempa. He who mindfully remembers to how to do inhalation and exhalation. We also by completely and properly meditating on the, it says use the word completely and properly. This is where the word qualified and super qualified noun comes from, because you can first do the one level and then thoroughly. So completely and properly meditating on the mindfulness of inhalation and exhalation. Rimji Yongsu Changjur, we will be gradually master the practice, yeah? Gradually master the practice. First do the simple breathing and then do the thoroughly and completely following the inhalation, retention and exhalation. Just like the sun, it says, yeah, Tindra Niman Dawatar and Jikten Kun Dina Kun Sao. Just like the sun and moon uncovered by uncovered cloud will be illuminated by the sun. Yeah? The sun and moon otherwise covered by the cloud will be illuminated by the very sun and moon. So by doing the qualified round breathing, super qualified round breathing, mindfulness, inhalation, retention, just as Buddha taught it, it says just what Buddha taught it, then it will clear away all the heavy and a cloud and darkness over one's heart and feelings and emotions. So this is amazing, the whole technique of what we do in calm abiding meditation, qualified and super qualified round breathing, is not just mindful breathing, but that actually lift the darkness of the cloud of confusion and suffering and pain and ill will and anger and blame. All of those will be illuminated if one knows, if one does. He says completely and properly, not just doing a technique, but until one really yield the benefit of doing it, then one really experience what really constitutes not only doing one round, but many rounds, counted forward and reverse, and so on. Not just mastering the techniques, not just mastering the technique, but actually receive the benefit of lifting those darkness, like the sun and moon beam illuminates. So the teaching, the mindfulness of breathing, watching the qualified and super qualified and breathing, is likened to the sun. It's the light. Even even with meet the Buddha wouldn't give you a knife or fork or something to remove your afflictions. He said, do this. He was saying, go and do this. So he shows the way how to illuminate. So that's exactly referring to. So that first verse on mindfulness of breathing. Mindfulness breathing, yeah? So often people say, oh, this is from Nagarjuna or Vasubandhu, who says there are 6 things you do with breathing. But they're just elaborating what this verse has got to say. Exactly. So it's all come from the Buddha, horse's mouth. All come from the Buddha. Okay. All of you are familiar with this qualifier, super qualifier and technique, so it's good to know where that thing comes from. Next verse is Deng Tang, Duk Tang, Teshin Yalwa Tang, Lu Tang, Teshin Semne, Jokje Ching, Gelon Tempa, Tele Gom Jokban, Nashi Keber Nam Kapatyo. So as the practitioner carefully fixes his mindfulness on the body, now this is mindfulness body, on the body, whether either standing or sitting or lying down, as well as on the mind, that's on the mind, he will realize the order of their sequence. So that's really talking about when you're focusing on sitting, when he's really mindful to the mindful body sitting, he will focus on the 7-point postures of Buddha. That's from the feet all the way to the crown, all from the crown all the way down, the sequence. That's exactly what we're talking about, scanning. The sequence, he says, he will realize the order of their sequence. If the order of the sequence realized, not even the Lord of Death will go after him. Means if you understand the body, mindfulness body during the meditation, because then mindfulness body is basically to not just to sit still during the meditation, but actually to attain Rupakaya, yeah? To actually attain the Rupakaya. Vajrayana Buddha is Rupakaya. You try to meditate in order to attain the 7-point posture. These 7 postures of the body, from the feet all the way to the crown, need to be sequentially understood how to build your posture from the ground up, so to speak. Yeah, ground up. This is sequence, ground up. I don't think you can build a statue from the top down, unless you're carving in the Ajanta Ellora rocks. Maybe they did from the top down, but otherwise all the statues made from bottom up. So like the buildings, buildings you all build up. So the sequence of building is slowly up. Likewise, you create the foundation and slowly, like the whole. If you look at the Buddha's, I saw once one drawing that half of the Buddha is Buddha's face, half of this is like a stupa. All the 37 factors of enlightenment is all just depicted as various factors in the posture. Yeah. So that's what it's talking about. We usually talk about by sitting in the meditative posture of the Buddha, you are emulating the Rupakaya to attain the Rupakaya of the Vajrayana Buddha, and then when you know not just the sequence and what the body is actually, it's not self. Real mindfulness of the body is to know that body is not self. Yeah. Then, because there is no attachment to the body as self, who will come after you? Even the Lord of Death will not come after you. It means you will not fear death. You will not fear death because if you only fear death because you think the body is you. When you know the body is not you, from small cells, from fibers and tissues and hairs, you just take them one by one. There isn't any of that is you. The body is composites of many things. So the mindfulness body, sometimes mindful body depicts the teaching that meditating and dissecting the body and the repulsiveness and undesirability of that. That's only one aspect of the meditation. That's mainly to overcome desire for some people who have a lot of desire and they can't practice and they can't move, their mind is stuck in that, then that's that. But actually this meditation, mindfulness body, is to realize the body is not self. And that's why not even the Lord of death will come after him, because there is no, when one is not attached to the body, the Lord of death will not frighten you. You are not afraid of death. Means you will not fear death, because death is not death of you. Death is just a collapsing of the body, the composite of the body becoming decomposite. It decomposes. Yeah. So this second verse is about mindful body. It's not just sitting. No, you could be standing, you could be lying down. If you lie down, like the lying down and sleeping yoga. If you pay attention to a couple of moments before going to bed, and very, very graciously, in the right posture and the right attitude for the day, and then lie down, say that, you're lying down. I mean, it's basically body is a lie down thing. The thing that lie down best. It doesn't do very well with the feet on the feet all the time. Yeah, when it lie down, because it becomes the lie down. It becomes the remain. Body, Tibetan word body means lu. Lu means remain. The body is just what remains, and so you can be walking, you could be doing other physical things, but if you really realize the bodily activities are what you try to do, while the body itself is not you, but self, but it's animated by the consciousness. Otherwise, body is not me. That's real mindfulness. Body is not me, and therefore, then attachment to the body is lesser, and there's no misunderstanding that we are a body. There's true understanding that self is not the body, and that is what makes the Lord of Death could not come after you, and you will not have any, you will not suffer. After fixing the mindfulness on the body, so when your mind is very aware of the body, secure contact of the sixth sense faculty. Now you should secure the contact of the six sense organs and their contact with the sense objects. Yeah? Secure the contact of the visual sense organ is form, contact of the auditory consciousness is sound, and so on. So you can see that the cup is only cup to the eyes. There's no cup in the ears. No, I don't think the ear can see the cup. So the snap of the finger is a thing that the ear can contact, but sound, ear cannot contact form, the tangible form, and eyes cannot contact ear, sound. So they have only they only got their own individual sense contact, objects, sense object contact. So what this is was teaching you that what body is a relation to one who always maintain. Yeah, one who always maintain the meditative equipoise. This alone will gain realization in nirvana. So what means is that when you are able to fix your attention to the mind of the body, which is not self, then also your eyes is not self. Then you wouldn't say I is not also yours, because you have to establish if the I is not you, then who is you? That is the possessor. So in any part of the body, there is no separate self that other than the sense organs and the body. Yeah. So not finding self in the body, which in the body means there is no body. There's no self beside being labeled after this body. And so one who maintains this meditative equipoise knows the body is not self. And then will gain realization of nirvana. Nirvana means absence of sorrow. And why there is this absence of sorrow? Because the sorrow comes from clinging to the body as me and mine. One who meditates without any attachment to the body, that's what the Buddha did. He achieved renunciation, because he is not thinking he is body, his body is his. Then he didn't feel the cold and hunger, thirst. Maybe he did. I'm not exactly sure because I'm assuming a lot here. He must have sat there thinking that he's trying to think that he's not body, trying to think that he has no body. And as a result of that, nirvana, his achievement of nirvana came about as a result of reducing, decreasing the attachment to the body or aversion to the body, and it's like a thing that you decide not to keep. You just leave your 30-year-old, no, maybe 60-year-old Volkswagen, just put it there saying, and remove the number plate and say anybody can take it away. If anybody takes it away, you are relieved. You're no longer paying about what happens to it in the rain or why? Because you no longer have attachment to it. But someone who is attached to their sentimental value, sentimental value. They'll put cover on it, they'll keep it inside the garage, and they'll put tarpaulin on it, they will tie it under the wheels. As if it still is him or his. So it's not talking about just the physical body, even the things, they are suffering because they think it's theirs. It's like when you think it's not yours, it doesn't matter. The thing is lying down. There's no problem. So therefore, it's only me and mine. The issue is me and mine, because me and mine is now eliminated by the mindfulness. Mind is fully aware that the body is not me, and the sense organs are not me. If sense organs are me, there are 6 of them. So there will be a huge problem. If there are 2 personality, we think it's too much. If there are 6 personality, that will be very complicated. So no wonder it's better to be none. Better to have none of the personality. So because you no longer have the identity with the sense organs and the body as a whole as me and mine, one who maintains that meditative equipoise. I'm not body. What? No eye, no ear, no nose. Exactly what we read in Heart Sutta. You have to know that I'm not eye, I'm not ear. That's what it's saying, really. We're not saying there is no ear, there's no eye. Of course there is ear, and that also we designate. Ear looks more like ear when it's hanging over here, when it's hanging on this. But if there's someone's ear was cut off and piece put in the table, I don't know whether people will notice the ear or not. Might think it is a delicacy. You never know. Those chicken feet, those people who eat chicken feet, gosh, they think it's their delicacy or something, They don't call chicken feet, I think they call some other meat. And they don't think they're eating chicken, So like that, you can, when we have no attachment to it, we meditate on that I'm not eye, not ear, not nose. Whoever maintains this alone will gain realization of nirvana, because the realization nirvana comes from lack of sorrow and affliction. So there's no feeling that I'm my body, I'm my eye, I'm my ear. When people think they are their eye or their body, they have suffering. They're worried about the eyes, they're worried about the nose, they're worried about knees, they're worried about their skin. They can't do nothing about it. Slowly, by age, even though you try very hard to polish your skin every day, blemish will occur here. I noticed some blemishes occur in my face. I don't know. Where did they come from? Then they ask my permission. They just keep appearing. If you think, oh, my skin, oh, my face, then you start suffering. So your suffering comes from thinking of me. That is the skin. that is whatever. So yeah, you will have bliss. Bliss, nirvana means bliss. Absence of sorrow. Absence of sorrow. Kanshi dādu, nāmbā tamchetu, lūdō chēmbā nyevā jōgchēpā, dāgni mēchīng dāgirīn zimbāmi, dāgdu mingyūr, dāgin zin mingyūr, tētar gēlō nyamjō nyūrdōni, yūla sebadāle gāwar yūr. The verse number 4, it says that those who always fasten close mindfulness in realizing the body, realizing the body as not me or mine, yeah. They are fixed mindfulness. It's good to think, I'm not body, I'm not mine. You can say I have body, but I'm not body. Body is not me. Will not. Yeah, those who fasten their close mindfulness and realizing the body will not consider the existence of self or mind, nor will it become I and consider my body. Therefore, practitioner in such meditative equipoise will swiftly transcend craving to all objects. Yeah. Because the body is not self, therefore he or she does not crave things. Because craving only exists to one of the 5 sense doors. Yeah. I want this for my eyes. I want this for my back. I want this for my the smell in the room. This. All to try to craving for specific things for the sense doors. One who has realized, plays very close mindfulness in knowing the body is not me and is not self, and therefore when you know the body is not me, the body is not self, then he will not consider it's me and mine, and therefore he will not be thinking, I need this, I need this, I need this. All this craving, all the list of craving people have is because they think they are the body. So all the craving, this is the mind, this is the meditation. Meditation has to be on the body until you realize body is not me. Even you feel cold, you say, I'm not body, Because if when you look outside, it looks very cold out there, but doesn't quite feel the cold when you think you are not out there. but when you attach the body, then what you're doing, then you feel cold. But what you're doing is more important than the body. You don't feel cold. All those people who work in ice conditions, they said they get $50 an hour. All those people who work in the snow clearers, in the North America. Those people, more snowfall, they're really happy. So they don't feel cold. Why? Because they don't think the body is them. Money is them. Money is them. So therefore body feels less, desensitizes. Amazing how. Therefore, in such meditative equipoise, will swiftly transcend craving. You will reduce the craving and eliminate the craving to all objects, whatever the objects are. Even enmity to somebody is because we have enmity because of me and my body. So this meditation is about all elaboration of how to do the mindfulness of the body, and then mindfulness of the sense organs being not me. And when one keep meditating, I'm not my eye, I'm not my leg, sure, doesn't mean you can't look after the well-being leg, but there's no point having a lot of heart attacks and a lot of sufferings on the basis of that, because the body is basically very, very untenable. Basically, the body is very, very unsatisfactory, and you are satisfactory. So distinguish that. You are very satisfactory. Body is very unsatisfactory. So don't think you are unsatisfactory. At least pretend I am me, not like body. Very unsatisfactory. Very unreliable. So it's so that you can have a dummy self that is good but not body. And dummy self is good but that is not I, that is not ear. And then your craving will reduce. Craving will reduce. This is mindfulness. We have to think like that. Sometimes if you think you're happy, unhappy, or sad, or it's all because we are attached to the body, and then we have craving for the body, as a result. Kanshi tenda sheshi nyamjo tang, gatan rabdo tang we duduzu, chundi la ju menze shibate, yiga namle gawan yurshe zongs. Those who centuries and engage time after time on this teaching of the mindfulness body as not being self, mindfulness. So these are the 5 things, 5 powers, we call the 5 powers. On this teaching of mind, first power is power of mindfulness, second is power of introspection, third is power of equipoise, third is power of joy, fifth is power of faith. These 5 powers will transcend birth and old age. And that means, it doesn't mean birth as birth and another birth as such, old, but you will not create becomings. You won't create births of problems. Yeah, if you have the mindfulness body, you wouldn't say I've got this problem. It means you wouldn't create another problem, because birth is a problem. Remember, birth is a problem. Your mind says, and when you have the mindfulness and those 5 powers, you will now engage your meditation on the body as not self, because you're mindful the body is not self. You're introspectively checking that why the mind is the self is not the body, because body's got so many parts and so many things and so on, and then you develop a kind of indifferent feeling towards the body. That's the equipoise. You have just kind of equanimity towards the body, and then the 4th is joy. Now you have no sorrow due to attachment to joy body, but you have joy because of lack of sorrow, lack of attachment to the body as self. Then the joy really comes. The joy we usually say the prayer, may all beings have happiness that does not turn into suffering. Yeah, that's the joy it's referring to. You will now have joy that replaces this sorrow to it from attachment to the body as self. Now, due to absence of the attachment to the body as self, there is joy. Yeah. So this joy is not contaminated joy. This joy is a true joy that will not turn into misery. This joy is because this joy comes from these first 3 practices: mindfulness, introspection, and equipoise. And then 5th one, faith, great faith. Now you don't have to listen to teaching saying body is not self. You have faith, you know it too. Now you don't have to say, really? Now you also know, yeah, I know that. Yes, you have faith. You have faith. That's much better to think body is no self. And so you know that it is your sorrowlessness comes from lack of attachment to the body as self. You actually not just a faith, but you have confidence. Those who have unlosable confidence is because they believe in the teachings, in the Buddha so much. Previously, just out of devotion, out of just heresy, or maybe just because everybody believes in it. But now you really know why people believe and choose to believe, because you realize you have no longer the same degree of sorrow to do with your body, to do with your feelings, because you don't think the body is self, you don't think the feeling is real. Feeling is there, but it's impermanent. So what is impermanent is not there, it's transient. It's there, but it'll disappear. It's just like, say, someone parked a huge truck in front of your driveway, and you came in to tell your mom, somebody parked a huge truck in front of our driveway. And the mom says, oh, just wait a minute, let me finish this, and then you go, oh, and then after a few minutes you take the mother out, it's not there. No problem. Yeah, that's right. And or maybe he's there to deliver something to you. Oh, so good. Yeah, that's right. So it's like that. So like how long will the trouble stay there? It's like that. Everything is a transient. Everything is unreal. So that's see, these are real faith, you know. The faith is not believing in something. You have confidence. The teaching says this, and you really know, yes, I know it. I know it. That's for sure. So true. This is so true. When you know it's so true, that faith you cannot lose. Yeah. Very good. Amazing teachings like this. These are real blessings to be able to have a mental aptitude that can fathom and comprehend these teachings, and then this is topic under mindfulness, and these are the mindfulness practices. These are the mindful practices that things are not, feelings aren't real, that self is not body, and then mindfully think that, introspect, check whether that's true or not. Yeah, and then when you do, gain some meditative equipoise, and then have this joy. Wow, this is the true teaching. This is the real teaching. And then you continue to have this unlosable faith. Yeah, unlosable faith from here onwards. Yeah, it will transcend. Yeah, it will transcend birth. When will you complain next time? Yeah. There will be no birth of samsara. There will be no birth of problems, because all problems are absence of the mind with these five powers. When you have these five powers, are among the 37 factors of enlightenment. Yeah, 37 factors of enlightenment. 5 powers. You know. They say 5 powers and 5 sense faculties. This is 5 powers, the higher one. Almost a path of preparation, realization, path of preparation. The mindfulness practice. This can boost your ability to have joy, not because of worldly gains, worldly things. You know, people are happy for a few minutes because they want something or they got something or like that. Not this one. We're not talking of that kind of. This is not that joy. That will be good for a little while, but soon you realize. You won the lotto last night. You're so happy for a few days, and a few months later, it became a cause of discord. Not that kind of joy. Yeah, you have no idea how many people they thought they were joyful, but it completely turned into misery. But joy of knowing the body is not self, and not craving for the body as much as previously we used, and therefore have the bliss of not needing to crave. If you for sheer necessity of things, the sense objects that you need to eat or drink or whatever, if you have it, you have it, but you're not attached to it when you lose it, because you will lose it anyway. so there's no question. You know, isn't the question is whether you will lose or not. You will, particularly be attached to it. If you're attached to it, you're already a loser. You thought you gained it just now, but as soon as you gain, you're a loser. But you know, if you're not attached to it, then even the body is not a cause of problem. Yeah. So that joy from that, great faith from knowing that, this alone. You see, Buddha said this. This alone. This alone, you know, this alone will gain the realization nirvana. But one has to, this aloneness, this mindfulness, of knowing body as not self and feeling as unreal. This is what I'm talking about. Tete tap to metse che tenjin gelong kepa tenden zombai kewa kundu jorwa chen panes tenen dina nyangen deva tall. Yes. Always relying on such sentry duty, the wise practitioner with mindfulness and right effort renounce attachment in all lives and will attain nirvana in these lives. And so talking about how one now continues to hold one's grip in mindfulness of knowing self, body is not self, feelings are not real, and they are transient. This is talking about. This mindfulness of body is mindfulness of body not being me. Mindfulness body being other is beautiful or something is there, but as an illusion, but it's not really there. It's like a mirage. If you have, we had a whole chapter on beauty. When beauty is cause of sadness and all the sufferings. Beauty is there temporarily in the eyes of the beholder, particularly who thinks he is his eyes. So, but there is no really beauty that is not there. Particularly when attached to it, it becomes cause of sorrow. And if someone loses a loved one, they say he was so beautiful. That's the problem. Someone who loses someone very ugly, they don't say he was so ugly. When Gelong Mapamo, was just lost all her limbs, people nobody want to do her anything. They just abandon her, So, because basically these body are always carcasses. Just carcasses is going in what kind of colored boxes. Whether buried next to your mom or dad or father or husband or wife, that's the question. That's inevitably there. So so body is basically not self. So that's what we're talking about. Engage time after time. Just think again and again. Body is not self. Body is not self. Body is not self. Body is not self. Feelings not real. Feelings not real. It doesn't mean you don't feel. You're not allowed to feel good stuff. But if you're getting attached to the good feelings. If you're getting aversion to lack of the difficult feelings, then you've got to say, oh, the feelings are not real, feelings not real. Then time after time, on this teaching, on mindfulness, amazing teaching. These are real teachings. This is Buddha speaking. With such purpose, with the right effort, will renounce attachment. It's not a question of should. They will renounce attachment because they know it's not the thing that you thought it was. It is, but not the way you thought it was. Because you were mindful, you were investigated, you were equipoised, you were balanced, you were poised to be very equanimous. When you're very lopsided, you're not equipoised. When you're very, very calm, then you're able to see this. So only when you employ those 5 powers, then you will have all the power to renounce. You have no attachment. And that is nirvana, absence of sorrow, absence of attachment is nirvana. You don't have to change your body. You don't have to get out of that dress to get nirvana. You don't have to change your seat to get nirvana. You just have to renounce attachment. That's like the. But they didn't have to ordain the monks. They saw the Buddha and they all instantly became monk. It's just like blessing of the Buddha's mindfulness zaps them, I suppose. No, but we have to zap our mindfulness. We have to use our mindfulness to zap ourselves, to feel, to experience the sorrowlessness of nirvana. Yeah? Amazing. Nilo teda separ chepa yes. Meze dale, kyonyonje. Nyawe meze, chelade, meze tela, jikvame. Listen to me on sentry duty. You wake up those who are asleep. The Buddha saying, he said, listen to me on this very sentry duty. You wake up those who are asleep. Those who are asleep are those who think body is me. The feeling happened to me. And this happened to me. They did this to me. And then one feels sad and hurt. Those are the ones asleep. Listen to me. Engage yourself to wake those up. Wake those people who are asleep and then thinking, and they are their body, they are their legs, or they're their nose, or they're their head, or they don't have knees, or whatever it is. They are the one asleep. Being a sentry is easier than sleeping. Yeah, the sentry really means being a watchman. Yeah? Being a watchman, you're being the watch. You just stay very watchful. When you're very, very watchful, the one on sentry duty is fearless. One on sentry duty is fearless because he's watching, because he can see. He can see. Buddha is a seer. Buddha is a seer, and we are all entitled to be a seer. Because we got these two bulging eyes put on right here. This is barren design. Go and look. Go and look. Go and look and see. Go ye for monks. Go ye monks. Go forth and inform people to let them know these things. Tell them that they are not the body. Tell them they are not that the feelings aren't real. Not because they are not there, because they are not. They won't be there very soon. Yeah, it's just like you're saying they're rainbow. Yeah, we're not saying rainbow is not there, but rainbow is there, but it's no longer there. Most of the feelings, it's really, it's attachment makes them to think it's me, mine, and then they just become completely covered in cobwebs. Is this the sleep? This the sleep, they say. You have to go and watch and who is asleep and tell them all to wake up. Listen to me, this is Buddha saying. Anything to listen. You can say, come and listen to me. Listen to what? Listen to what? Tchaikovsky or? Yeah, listening to so many things, but hearing nothing. But this is listening. Listen to me. Listen to me. From being diligent at this sentry duty, always practicing on this sentry duty day and night, not distinguishing daytime you do keep a watch and other time you don't. I always say, this is not me, this is not me, this is not mine, this is not mine. Chivamela Lama, especially those who cherish immortality, Sakbanamna separate you. Contamination will become destroyed. Yeah? When you continues to remember on this duty, all the sufferings, all the problems, all the fears and uncertainties, they just don't stick on you. And it's just like oil and water don't mix together. It's just like that. When you have this mindfulness, then those problems don't stick on you. They don't even. Oh, there. No, it's over there. No, there. It's not even there. You thought it was there. You don't have to scrape it. You don't have to scrap it and put it in a bin. There are no problems. There are no problems. You don't have to talk about emptiness here. That's the relief he's teaching. When you're mindful, you don't need emptiness. When you're mindful to know what is not real and what is transient and so on, you Sakbanam separate you. Is it all contamination will be exhausted. You're exhausted. They're not there. You don't have to wash. They don't have to wash. You don't have to remove that. Doesn't have to remove. Because remove what from what? Amazing, profound meditation. People talk about Dzogchen, Mudra, and all that sort of Zen. These are the things we're talking about, really. These are the really stuff is talking about. The profound view of mindfulness is all there. In those days, they didn't give fancy names, and make it esoteric or make it. It's just in one chapter. Put all this here. Just have to relish this and just meditate on each verse, like we are doing. I'm sure you're doing that. Just not just listening. Listening is have to be really meditative. Kanshi Ninda, Sanjijas. Now this moves to another topic meditation. So that's all about mindfulness on the breath and mindfulness on the body and mindful feelings, which we see the body as not self and feeling as not being real. And when one does that, not necessarily while sitting and meditating as we do, but just remembering that, occasionally straight away bring it on, be on that watch person's duty, Who's the watchman, the watch person now? It's me. Everybody is on the watchman's duty now. Everybody is on the watchman's duty. And when you are doing that, then you realize that the problem that you had or that would otherwise become is not a problem. Because there is no I, that is the body. There is no sense organ to which you think is I, and therefore when you contact any sense object, that is also a non-self contacting non-self. Non-object also, because non-object doesn't mean it's not an object, but it's not an object by itself. And so when you have this first 8 chapters, those 8 chapters, 8 verses. 8 verses cover that. Now from here onwards, it moves on to other topics of mindfulness, and all of us can do this because we know what we're talking about. That is, those who recollect and mindfully meditate on the Buddha. Now this is talking about people who meditate on the Buddha. Now Buddha is one who achieved enlightenment. We say who has nirvana, who has all the. Buddha is one who has attained enlightenment. Buddha, like the Rupakaya, Dhammakaya. Buddha is the possessor of the 2 kayas. And that's from the point of view of the body. From the point of view of the qualities of Buddha's Rupakaya body has 112 distinct marks. So when you think about the qualities of the Buddha's body, just by seeing his body, seeing him made many just become completely seer of the reality of the truth. So one who recollect just the Buddha's body, one who recollect the qualities of Buddha's speech, the teaching. This is what we're talking about. Just recollecting Buddha's speech, his realizations through enlightenment. His writings, sayings are his enlightened realizations. Buddha's sayings are not poem. You know, he wasn't trying to write to get a book award or anything like that. He didn't write at all. He just said them, and people remember them. They couldn't forget it. It was such an impact on their little ear. They couldn't forget. Couldn't forget those things. Those who saw the Buddha, they just didn't need to look anything now. They didn't need to go look for anything, because once they saw the Buddha, once they heard the Buddha, they just heard it, and they heard it and heard it. The Buddha's speech, you know, and Buddha's speech is relevant to everyone. Relevant to everyone. Everybody hears whatever they need to hear when it's true Dharma, you know, and it is always pertinent to everyone who has anguish, who has sorrow, who has confusion. The teaching just straight away gets to them like a thunderstrike. It straight away just open, and the people realize that's for me, because that's the power and the compassion and the wisdom of the Buddha is so appropriate, so pertinent, so exact, so relevant, so timely, and to anyone, you know. It would not make anybody disagree what Buddha said. It completely makes them to change their mind without doing much. You know, the qualities of the Buddha. So that's why we need to sit. We can just sit and they say, meditate on the Buddha. You know, meditate on the Buddha, not just think the Buddha or a statue or something. The qualities of the Buddha. You got to recollect the qualities of the Buddha. Like we can remember all the qualities. Like we have read all the qualities of Buddha in the clarifying the sage's intent on the last chapter, on the fruit of the Buddhahood. You know, all the qualities of Buddha's body, Buddha's speech, Buddha's mind, his compassion, his wisdom, his power, his many lives before he became Buddha, what he did, amazing practice of generosity, amazing discipline, sat under the tree with great sort of stamina and confidence, unperturbed by any difficulties, the renunciation Buddha practice, the simplicity Buddha practice. He completely gave up all the things that everybody was desiring, which he had everything what people did. He didn't want any, he gave up everything what everybody wanted to desire. And he adopted everything what people don't want. So he's always sitting he's always thinking how sentient beings be met with happiness, how can they be freed from suffering. That was always on his mind, not anything else. Yeah, just try to be like that. What must be the mind of the Buddha like, who's always in loving kindness meditation? May all beings have happiness, a cause of happiness. May they be met with happiness and its causes. May they be parted from the suffering and its causes. He's always in the meditation of loving kindness. He's always in loving meditation on infinite compassion, not just to finite object. Ordinary people, when they meditate loving kindness, they try to do on finite object, try to resolve their little difficulties. Buddha was meditating and is still meditating always in the meditative equipoise of loving kindness. There is never a moment Buddha is putting his feet up and tired or something. No, never like that. Buddha, enlightened Buddha activity is just incessant, until whole samsara is emptied. The enlightened Buddha never is not engaged. Shepe sila menepa, nyingje shila menepa. So due to his wisdom, he's not stuck in samsara. Due to his compassion, he's not abiding in nirvana. He's engaged in samsara, always. So therefore, says those who recollect the Buddha, his infinite qualities. We're talking about amazing Buddha's qualities, body, speech, mind, qualities and activities, both day and night. Say if you can't sleep or something, just sit there and think of the Buddha. Amazing reason. So always think of the Buddha when you can't, when you have something not knowing what to do. So, I don't know what to do this afternoon. Just sit there and think of the Buddha. Write down all the qualities. If you're a student, just write down all the qualities Buddha. I will think about these things. Sit there and just delight yourself. Wow, this delight is not ordinary delight. And goes for refuge to the Buddha. This is the discovery of humanity. Yeah. Every time he or she meditates on the Buddha and take refuge and validate refuge and feel profoundly, when you meditate on the Buddha, it totally rejoices and gladdens your mind. You can never have a sad day if you know how to recollect the Buddha, because you don't have time for that. You're too time bored to be sad for yourself. Your time is richly involved in recollecting the Buddha. Recollecting the Buddha. Buddhists has to always think of the Buddha, not by their choice, but they know that's the best thing to think. Because then when they think of the Buddha, they can tune their mind to the best kind of tune of loving kindness, compassion. Their mind is free of all the afflictions. Or by thinking of the Buddha, their mind is awakened. So that's out of the 6 recollections. This is the meditation on the 6 recollection, right? Where Nagarjuna talks about 6 recollection in the letter to a friend. It comes from here. And chapter verse number 10 goes to say, "Kanshi nindan tsenam su chönam jesu tenjechin. Kanda chola kyasonwa teda mi nyebayin." Those who recollect the Dharma, now this is recollecting Dharma, mindfulness of Dharma. We can listen and read the Dharma, but better you meditate and recollect what you know the Dharma, know what Dharma teaching is, not only scriptural Dharma, but realization Dharma. What you realize the teachings to be, such as 4 truths, 4 noble truths, 8-fold path, compassion, or whatever the teaching is, impermanence, or whatever the teachings of the Buddha that your mind is greatly benefited by. Just think about that. Think of a particular quote. Think of a particular topic like bodhicitta, like how to practice forgiveness, how to practice compassion, how to practice tolerance. Whatever the Dharma you can remember, those who recollect Dharma, both day and night, and goes for refuge in the Dharma. That's really going for refuge Dharma. Going for refuge in Dharma is not just repeating the prayer 3 times at the beginning, just thinking of the Dharma and just relish your Dharma. Just wash your mind, saturate the mind with Dharma knowledge, wisdom. It doesn't mean you are ignoring your other duties as well. You will be doing the other duties even better. Thinking of the Dharma, and then you do your duties. Wow. And then the Dharma this will be the realization of Dharma. This is trying to make the Dharma realization Dharma. First you have to have, when you say recollect the Dharma, first you have to have something to recollect. So the study, like we're doing now, reading, contemplating, discussing, these are very useful. Those who have done these then can recollect what they heard, what they read, what they felt, amazing thing of the Dharma. Then sit there and meditate. So people who are now familiar with this chapter can sit there and write these things all down and then meditate. That they wouldn't you can just inhale Dharma. Inhale Dharma. Inhale Buddha. Inhale Buddha's qualities, all the 112 marks, one by one. all the 60 melodies, one by one, 60 melody of speech, all the omniscient mind, 18, 4 fearlessness, 10 great powers, 18 unmixed faculties, all of those one by one, you can just inhale, yeah, because they're all the qualities of Buddha, the quality of Dharma. If you think of the quality of Dharma is, two, remember? This truth of cessation and truth of the path, yeah. This is real Dharma. The first two truths is also useful, but true truth is the last two truth of path, truth of cessation. Where you have followed the path, where you are following the path, where you know what is the path, and then just see the pathness of it. Means the path means when you path, you reach somewhere. You're out of the trouble. You are not stuck in some place because you on the path. You move from anger to forgiveness and miserliness to generosity and anger to tolerance, and those are the path we're talking about. Truth of the path. You did the walk on the path. You did walk on. As a result of that, there have been small breakthroughs where you felt truth of cessation. Yeah. It's not an ideal truth of cessation, but on a smaller scale. And then the Dharma that you remember, 84,000 discourses of Buddha teaching. They're all amazing things to sit there and then inhale. You'd never be bored with doing qualified round breathing, because otherwise you don't know what to breathe in. You didn't know enough what to inhale. Inhale means recollect. Recollect the Dharma. And recollect the blessing of Dharma. If you breathe Dharma, then breathe out what's opposite of that, ill will, or sadness, or dislack of diligence, or whatever. Just breathe that out and breathe in. You're sitting, but now more diligent. You're meditating, but more diligent. Why? Because you have the power of recollecting the qualities of Dharma. You can't just say about one person recollect the Dharma in just one verse. When you think about it, it's just inconceivable. Inconceivable. Dharma is inconceivable. Chugi and this samikya means quality of Dharma is inconceivable. So just thinking how inconceivable the quality of Dharma is alone will make yourself very cognizant of this. It's enormous, just humbled by that our little mind has some access to Dharma. And that alone is the meditation you can do. You can meditate. You can meditate on the qualities of the Dharma, how it opened your eyes, how it gave you the eye that you lacked, how it replaces the ordinary eye that you thought was self, how and so on. This is the true discovery of humanity. Yeah, you will truly find a new person in you. Yeah, new person in you when you recollect the Dharma. You wouldn't be the same person from yesterday or yesteryears because you are recollecting the Dharma. You do the recollecting the Dharma. Third one is kanshi nyintan senam su gendun jesu chenjeji. Kanda gendun jausonwa tedami ingepa. Now the Sangha. Those who recollect the Sangha. This is talking about the Buddha is rare, and the Dharma is even rarer, because without the Buddha there is no Dharma. But how do you know the existence of Dharma? Because of the Sangha. We're talking about Sangha of the exalted Sangha, Arhats and Bodhisattvas, and that's kind of the ultimate objects of refuge Sangha, as well as conventional Sangha. Conventional Sangha who in this generation, or previous generation, each of their lives and stories we hear of their dedication, their renunciation, their simplicity, their effort and their practice. When you think about the biographies, you recollect even one of the lineage masters or individual teachers or practitioners of their commitment and practice, that you will rejoice. And that's just outer kind of historical. But here the real quality of Sangha to recollect is two. Rigdol, means realization and liberation. Sanghas are those who have realized the Dharma. And so the qualities of Dharma is even more recollectible when how it has changed ordinary people to become the people Sangha they became, Angulimala, King Ashoka, all those amazingly ruthless and violent people completely changed and pacified, transformed them into what person they became worthy of remembering. Because Dharma completely changed the ordinary people into Sangha members who are revered and who are honored and whose task, whose activity enliven the Dharma and its livingness of the tradition is because they are Sanghas who realize the Dharma and who are liberated, who no longer have the same ill will, who no longer think the body is self, who no longer talks about their stories that happened in the past in the same way now, because they've just gone over that. They just transcended that. They're liberated. They do not think the same way. They do not talk the same way because they're liberated. Because they're liberated, that's why they have the power to represent the Dharma. Yeah, power to disseminate the Dharma. Yeah. Those who recollect the Sangha, because remembers the Sangha. That's what we do that by. In Vajrayana Sadhana practice, very amazing. When you recite the list of the gurus in the beginning, you are recollecting all the Sanghas. Even if you do not know much more, very many details of individuals, but how all of them did the person in their generation, Only one in every 40-year generation can be anointed as the lineage master. Like now, in this particular generation, thousands of practitioners, only one will be anointed as the lineage master. You don't get to get the great chance to become one because you have to have these two qualities of being realized and liberated. Realize, not just intellectually realize, not just academically know the Dharma, just have really put their heart and mind in the teachings and then realize the Dharma, then truly benefit the people and sentient beings who are asleep and who are so lost and who do not know how to wake up, who are lost in their worldly concerns. And all those sanghas did the waking up. And so that's why when we recollect the Sangha has many qualities: discipline, meditation, wisdom, and of course generosity, of course all the other qualities, because otherwise they wouldn't be liberated, otherwise they wouldn't be realized. So the fact that we today rejoice Dharma is not because there is Dharma, because Dharma is not the Dharma that is in the books. Dharma is those which are felt and believed and practiced by living tradition. So hence the recollecting Sangha by both day and night. That disciple of Gautama Buddha, for he properly is awakened, will awaken others. Yeah. So that's so that's why recollecting the Sangha. So those three, one by one, in the meditation you can do that. You could be sitting there meditating, but you could be very organized in doing the meditation and recollect those in sequence, one by one, carefully. That you are so delighted by thinking of the qualities of Buddha, and by just as much delighted by thinking of the qualities of Dharma, just as delighted by thinking of the qualities of Sangha. They talk about how meditators later on feel bliss. You wonder where their bliss comes from. The bliss is because the mind is now focused on this, such devotion and refuge in the Triple Gem, and hence their mind is not available to be distracted or upset or tired or sleepy. It's not. One is so informed, so wakeful to think of the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, that you do not have that idle time to feel sleepy or tired or not knowing what to do or feel bored. Because you know these are the true mindfulness practice meditation. Remembering the Buddha, remembering the Dharma, remembering the Sangha. That's a refuge. Refuge usually means when you are fearful of trouble, you go somewhere that actually is safe. When you remember Buddha, it will straight away make your mind and mental constitution much better. It is saved from anger, saved from other afflictions by thinking of the Buddha, thinking of the Dharma, thinking of the Sangha. And that's why I say take refuge. Not just at the beginning of practices as formality. As soon as you sometimes feel you need to, even not as a desperate act, but just sometimes deliberately, just see what's really like to meditate on the Buddha. Not just try to put image, statue of Buddha in front of you, then try to get, just sort of focus on it. That's really not a meditation of Buddha. I suppose it could be seen as a meditation. I'm meditating on the Buddha, please go away. Try to see the Buddha. Yes, try to see the Buddha and all these other things take away from them. You just try to make the table full of one big Buddha or small Buddha, try to see it. It's not real meditation on the Buddha. Real meditation on the Buddha is remembering the qualities. It's like rejoicing the immense merit and virtue and joy and gratitude that we do not have ability to feel about anyone. Because quality of the Buddha is inconceivable. Little you can conceive will completely lit your mind. It's a discovery of humanity. You will tell this to others how to meditate on the Buddha, how to meditate on the Dharma, how to meditate on the Sangha. So those are the first three recollection. Recollection of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Then it repeats by saying, those who recollect the Buddha both day and night, that disciple of Gautama Buddha, for he properly is awakened. So meaning whoever meditates on the Buddha and recollect the quality of Buddha, because the person is now true disciple of the Buddha, meditate on the Buddha, for he is properly awakened. Now you're really awakened. Your mind is so much delighted and joyous. You don't have the time for the mind to occupy by other things. Your mind is completely mesmerized or supported and uplifted by this joy and devotion. It's just indescribable. It's inconceivable, means also indescribable. He is properly awakened. You will be really awakened. You don't have to look for stars or lifting up or levitating. That's not real enlightenment. Real enlightenment is you feel mentally uplifted from sorrow and tiredness and boredom and all the samsara contamination. Your mind doesn't feel these things. He will awaken others. The person who has the blessings and benefit of recollecting Buddha, not only will he feel awakened, because he's now becoming realized. He's himself becoming Sangha. Sangha is one who has realization and who is liberated from all the afflictions, who will no longer have those things. He will awaken others. It's just the Buddha saying he will awaken. That's how his Sangha is now activated. Because Sangha comes from Dharma realization. Dharma came from the Buddha. So basically Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, another Dharma. Another Dharma makes another Sangha. so Sangha is just a ripple effect. Sangha is a ripple effect. Those who recollect the Dharma, both day and night, that disciple of Gautama Buddha, he properly will awaken others. Likewise, another verse repeated, those who recollect the Sangha with both day and night, that disciple of Gautama Buddha, for he properly is awakened, will awaken others. So those are first three of the six recollections. And then the fourth recollection is, those who recollect discipline, this is self-discipline. the need of it and importance of it and virtue of it and benefit of it, and then what it is changing oneself by doing the practice of meditation discipline. So how the discipline has transformed very unruly people to become ruly people, very selfish become selfless, very angry people become, kind, and so on. So the discipline, even the Dharma is sacred, but Dharma's sacredness is not sacred by touching you or by looking at it, by those who realize and change their way. Change their way is the discipline. Yeah? So those who recollect the Dharma's power, that which changes their way, and they adopt to change the way, take up the discipline to practice kindness, for instance, to know the body is not self, to know that emotions are transient, and so on. And they deliberately take up that. It's a day and night. Yeah, you deliberately take up day and night to think of that. Those are the discipline. So even the Sangha that you think are great is because they adhere to the discipline. Yeah. So Sanghas are made special by the discipline. So the discipline of the Dharma is a voluntary discipline. Oneself voluntarily adopts the changes, and then oneself does it particularly with good intention for the others. There are lots of people who adopt some things and give up some things, but for different reasons. Some people do it for their health, some people do it for their looks or whatever. They're not necessarily taking disciplines for benefit of sentient beings. A lot of discipline in the army. Discipline. They can do a lot of training and so on. We're not talking about discipline generally. We're talking about discipline that's intended by Dharma. Those disciplines that are motivated by Dharma and altruism, and those discipline that you not only recollect, but you witness people, how much they have changed by their heeding to the Dharma, and then how much they made the changes in themselves. Not just outer changes, but internal. We're talking about discipline of the body is one, discipline of speech and another, most important, discipline of the thought, the attitude, what thought we think, what beliefs we have, and we know what is the discipline. Discipline are three. One is to exercise restraint. So exercise restraining or prohibiting certain thoughts like ill will, greed, wrong view, and blame, and resentment, this kind of discipline. The Sanghas became Sangha by learning to drop certain mental thoughts that are problematic. It's their attitude, their mind is the problem. But they don't think they need to change their mind. They think they can change some other things or try to change other people. But they don't realize the true moral discipline is changing their ill will into goodwill, anger into compassion, and resentment into forgiveness, and ill will to goodwill, and harming to helping. And that is real discipline. Real discipline is changing one's mind. Buddhism is all about how to change the thought, attitudes. It's knowing the disorder there is in the thinking and the attitude that are harmful, and then seeing their harmful attitude to get rid of, and replacing them with good attitudes, and so on. So those are real discipline. The outer physical, verbal discipline, so societal and civil law and order already begs for it. People are punished by it if people do anything physically and verbally harmful things. Society punishes. Society takes care of it. But mental punishment, mental harm, self-harm, is not punishable even by society, because they have no way of doing that. They have no way of enforcing. They will no enforcing. So that discipline here, Sangha is the one who has. They say usually, it's good to have a physical discipline, Means it's better still to have a verbal discipline. But it would be indeed good if there's mental discipline. And those who discipline all of the three, is the disciple of the Buddha. So even the disciple of the Buddha or Sangha that we remember and recollect and rejoice and amazing, because they became worthy of reverence because they adhere to the discipline. So that's why those who recollect the discipline, they actually are many more times are recollecting the Sangha who have discipline. And when oneself is now observing and adhering to discipline, of course, discipline varies according to individuals. Discipline is an individual responsibility rather than sort of imposing on each other and then expecting others to respect us because we are disciplined or something. That kind of discipline is a pseudo discipline. That's a worldly discipline, materialistic discipline. Discipline has to be hidden and concealed. Good quality mustn't be said, I do this, I don't do this type of thing, but one should hide it, those discipline that one has, and then remember how to guard them, and then that is the true disciple of the Buddha. So those who, even the Buddha's disciples, they were different people. They had amazing, difficult background. As soon as they became the Buddha's disciple, then they became disciplined. They become disciplined and they become changed. Means they change their ways. Their greedy ways change, become contented. Angry ways become kind, and so on. So aggressive becomes non-violent and so on. When they drop the bad habits and when they pick up good habits, that's a discipline. And then not only do those two, but do that too for the benefit of others, not just better themselves. Not just better oneself. Bettering oneself is also there, but if one does just for the sake of bettering oneself, then it is not quite. So therefore, even one's observing discipline should be done so for the benefit of others. And that is why we can recollect the discipline of others who did so not because they were doing for themselves, but they did it for the sake of others. And amazing, rejoice. You will have so much joy in your mind. Those whose disciplines are good, also they did it for people like me. They did it for people like sentient beings. And then you have amazing admiration. There are many who have the same discipline. Some don't do that for the others at all. Just for themselves, or some other ulterior motives. But those who observe discipline for the benefit of others is indeed many more times worthy of recollecting, because that makes the person more disciple of the Buddha, and so on. Fifth recollection is generosity. Those who recollect generosity really is amazing. Is being able to remember one's early days when we were very, very dependent on the help of others. And just think of recollects from the early days. We can just recollect the kindness and generosity of others, and how much benefit there is, and also recollect the people you have seen doing very wonderful things to others, how generous they are. You start to think of how the world is full of many wonderful people. Even if we see one or two difficult people, we shouldn't think of them on the top and think that's the cause of our grievances. We should think that's just one out of few. There are all kinds of different sized fish in the water. Not all are like that. Something like that. Even there are some difficult people, but there are lots of good people. You should rejoice. All the selfless people, like parents or family or loved ones, how much they do, how many volunteers, how many people do so much for others around the globe, unconditionally. Any time, any hour you ring them, they are willing to do things. So when you try to remember the kindness of the generosity of the Buddha, having given up all his material possession or position, and then practice it is due to his perfection of generosity that actually he reached Buddhahood. And likewise, any of the other great Sangha practitioners, most of them who had really comfortable life but gave up that went to become a mendicant, and that giving their life for the Dharma is the highest generosity. Then we therefore recollecting discipline and generosity is, of course, if you really think about it, it is the elaborated form of recollecting Dharma, isn't it? Recollecting Dharma. Recollecting generosity or recollecting discipline, they are just recollecting Dharma. So, but here, recollecting giving and generosity in particular is those who are able to remember the things that other people give, other people do, other people do amazing things. When you think about that, then you are practicing also generosity. The caregiving is amazing generosity these days. Being able to not give just money, because most people are not so much money kind of needy. They need kindness. They need really caregiving. Caregiving. And those who practice really caregiving, then they are not only recollecting the other people's generosity, but they are emulating. They're actually practicing the good model that they have recollect the Buddha and others' generosity. Then they are also practicing. That disciple Gautama he properly awaken, will awaken others. Yeah, the person who recollects the generosity of other people and is always thinking generously, very, very generous they will also be how they speak, what they do, are very generous. And then, because then they will awaken others. They'll make others, that's the way to go. And they will also empower other people by exposing to do the practice of generosity. If you see generous people, it inspires people to be generous, And so that's why it's good to talk about good things and generous things of other people. When you do that, that's already generous. But when you complain about things, then that creates poverty. People say that you lose your hope in humanity, as a nobody cares type of thing. Of course, it's not like that. Really, there's lots of people who cares. A lot of people will do anything only if we have humility to ask. And so therefore society actually is full of generous people. So being able to think of all the good people do, even those people who have some problems, they try to do their best. They're still giving all the time, and trying to give. They sometimes and maybe have troubles, and so therefore when we think like that, we are more willing to give and forgive others who may be under difficulties. Then we are truly awakened. Then we are really forgiving is a generosity, And if just giving things is generous, it's good. But forgiving is even more generous. Forgiving is a generosity where most people don't want practice. There's a gift of Dhamma is higher than gift of material things. That forgiving is a gift of Dhamma. Because only by hearing Dhamma, people can realize, oh, I should forgive, isn't it? I should really say sorry, isn't it? And then only by hearing Dhamma. Otherwise, society almost teaches zero tolerance. They say, if there's something wrong, they're going to bark and they're going to finish. They're going to make the person guilty and unfit. And that is not giving. That is punishing. That is taking. Their life is nearly lost already, and we're gonna kill it. So that's not, punishment is not giving. True giving is not only giving material things, giving protection, caregiving, and loving kindness, but most importantly, giving Dharma, giving the practice of Dharma that we know is the practice of Dharma. We forgive others. We practice tolerance with others. We don't talk about others. We don't criticize or quarrel with others, even if somebody is awful. But you just not say anything back. That's the highest giving. That's the really highest giving, is giving of Dharma. That is tolerance. Practicing tolerance, highest giving. Recollect the tolerance you practice. Recollect that other people practice tolerance. And then you can recollect many times. And that many more times you receive the recollecting of the generosity and tolerance and kindness of others, it completely changes your mind, See, it will awaken others. Yeah, that's right. If you see someone practice tolerance, it will awaken others. Oh, that's what we should do, really. That's what we should have done, like him. Now, did you notice that he didn't retaliate? He didn't look angry. He was still feel, very patient. He didn't say anything. See, as a result of that, he will be happy in the evening because he didn't retaliate. He will remember that day again. He will be happy that he didn't retaliate. Other people who remember that, they will also remember, oh, he didn't retaliate. Wow. So it's an amazing thing to recollect. Recollecting the generosity, practicing Dharma, giving Dharma, practicing the real Dharma is not so that if we become socially interactive, we will see that. But if you see a lot of impatient people around, then you feel really depressed. And then you see one person being abusive, other person become just as angry and retaliate. And if you become witness to that, it will just make you so sad. It'll make you feel sad and sadder and depressed, because that's the kind of poison. Not many people have done anything bad, but they have seen so many things people do to each other just as equally bad, and then they think that's human beings. That's how human beings are like that. But we saw some people practicing the generosity, discipline, and tolerance, and kindness, and so on. You too will be liberated. You too will be liberated. It will awaken you and awaken others, because people seem to practice what they see. And so, how do we do that? How do we practice that? For he properly awakened, he will awaken others by recollecting the virtue of generosity. Not just generosity are 4 types, not material generosity, fear, giving of protection from the fear and anger, and giving them advice. That's giving of fearlessness called. Third is giving of emotional loving kindness, and fourth one is giving Dharma, really, giving of the Dharma. Of course, even if somebody is difficult there, but you practice compassion to them. If you compassion to them, not take sides to others, both see object of compassion. See, that's really practicing Dharma. And you're truly giving Dharma. You're truly practicing Dharma. Not just recollecting verses or concepts and ideas and mantras. You're actually practicing really, really Dharma. That's a real awakener. For he properly is awakened, he will awaken others. But if you're reciting mantra, they say, oh, he's mumbling something. They will just see you mumbling something. It wouldn't awaken others. If you practice tolerance, they say, oh, wow, he practiced tolerance. That will delight the person. That delight young ones too. If 2 adults are arguing and the one is really tolerant, and then the young ones will really will get blessing by seeing that. But young ones see, everybody reciting the rosary but angry. They say, what they only want to pray, but never change anything. They may break the rosary then. They may hit each other with the rosary. So that's kind of pseudo spiritual practice. It's just cultural Buddhism, form of the practice, but actually not happening. So one needs to remember, recollect the generosity. Yeah, that's the 5th one. 6th one is those who recollect the deity. It says the deity. Yeah, some teaching says recollect the parents. So the deity is, I suppose, parents. Parents also is deity, really. If you really if you think of your parents with great reverence, yeah, it's more than deity. I mean, the other deities you don't know them. Your parent, you know them. They have been very much deity. We've been looking after you all these years, looking. I don't know how many of the deities have been looking after us, but the real person who looked after us, our parents. So there's no doubt about parent being deity. Parent being, loved ones being deity. Both day and night. Because even if you have respect the Buddha and Dharma, so what if you don't now translate that respect to sentient beings? So respect someone who is very important into your life, who you feel very indebted to, and kind. And when you think about that, it's just not that kind of a ordinary love, but just really, really, really admire, really, really love, really, really rejoice and respect. When you think of that, recollect that, and both day and night, that disciple Buddha, he properly awakens, he realized, I can emulate this person, I can try to do something like this, and then we become very, very inspired, he will awaken others. That person who has the access to do the sixth recollection. I messed up there, so I can't quite finish that. It doesn't have to, because it's an amazingly detailed thing to remember and recollect the sutra, that particular chapter on. So we finished verse number 17, okay? And next.